All right. Hello, Gun Nation. It says we are live. I hope everyone is doing well out there. More people will be jumping in. We have Trigger Bar Philosopher on tonight. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I think we'll have a good time. And we're going to be kind of talking about EDC, shit hit the fan, and any questions or comments anybody has. We'll do a quick roll call. Not many are in here yet. We got Lynn Holt, Pistol Pete, Dirt Track, Rich B, and I'm sure more will be jumping in here. But I noticed you've got some videos. I saw a premiere that was announced today. So what do you have coming up on? And don't give it away, but what do you have coming up on that video? I just saw the thumbnail.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got it kind of reveals it there, but I've got an FNX tactical that's kitted out by 460 Roland. So we're going to be doing some big old bore testing with it, and we got some fun stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, 10 millimeter what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we're in this one. We even do some gel stuff, and man, it's actually really fun. So
Oh,
I'm
cool.
excited to see how it does. But
Yeah. I was going to say, with the FNX, of course, I'm a big fan of that pistol. And, when I saw your setup, I was like, oh, man, that looks pretty cool. Hello,
yeah,
Ohio Gear Guy and that agency guy, A-Dubs. Hello, Redbird. I hope y'all are chessboard. I hope y'all are doing well. But, yeah, I know you kind of went down, and this kind of what brought this up with the EDC, shit hit the fan and stuff. And that's why I wanted to have you on also, because I knew that you went down the shotgun rabbit hole, so to say. Hello, Brian. Um, is this your, and I can't remember, is this your first shotgun? Or,
so my first shotgun I got when I was 13, I think. So no, um,
yeah,
my first tactical shotgun. I
okay.
had a
Gotcha.
Mossberg 20 gauge growing up, and I slayed doves and pheasants and all sorts of stuff that I don't want to admit in front of the game warden, and ducks and other things like that. And then that's actually with a son of mine or a son-in-law. And then I've got my dad's 12 gauge. It's a Remington 1150. And then I just kind of got the itch to get something a little newer and try out the move to the tactical side of things.
Okay. Now, and I noticed you got the Beretta, the semi-automatic. Do you run, or do you have, or have you in the past ran pump shotguns?
Yeah, so my Mossberg was a pump action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now,
So that's what I did exclusively until recently. In fact, that Remington 1150 is a pain in the ass. Excuse my French.
no, go ahead.
Um, but it actually has an O-ring that often fails. And so, growing up, I just thought the gun sucked. And funny story is, until I got more recently way into the gun chill, I started thinking, well, what is wrong with this thing? And you got to replace that O-ring every now and then. And I know my dad never did that, and I never did it. I just thought the gun sucked, and it did not have an interchangeable choke tube. Right? It had its barrel was its choke, and it was a full choke. So no wonder why I was missing all those doves and pheasants. Right? I mean, it's got a shot pattern like this. Right at 5-10 yards. So it was just completely the wrong gun for that. I just thought it sucked. As a kid, this gun sucks.
Yeah. And, and of course, with a lot of tactical shotguns, I mean, not every one of them, some of them are smooth bore and don't have a choke adjustment. Some do. Um, you know, Sometimes it's kind of like less is better, because some people get completely wrapped around the wheel with chokes. And I mean, I have shotguns with chokes, and I understand them, and I think it's a great thing. But for certain applications, because I've seen people put the wrong choke in it and then run slugs and then go, oh, and freak out. And I was like, got to be a little careful with that kind of stuff. But um, so but and also where I was kind of going with this, and I know there's a ton of semi-auto shotguns for tactical world and all that, and then there's pumps. But I'm kind of, I guess, a little more old school, and I prefer a pump shotgun because pumps will run anything. Usually, the shit crap ammo, short brass, tall brass or high brass, it'll usually run anything where some even really nice semis, they'll kind of get choked up sometimes. And that's why I'm kind of like, okay, if it's using a tactical application or a SHTF application, and I have semis, but I'm like, yeah, I stay with my 590A1 strictly for the pump ability. So, I just didn't know if you had another pump, if you had, or still currently, where you
Not
could.
currently. I gave the 20 gauge to my daughter and son-in-law, um, and don't have it. I'll admit, I'm curious. Let's just say, there's guns you buy for like your main role, right? And various things. And I'm more shotgun curious, I would say at this point. If someone's breaking into my house and I have a chance to get to my gun safe, which is where a long gun would be stored, because I do have little kids in the house still. So it's either gun on the person or a long gun safe, where I have a lot more safes strategically stored throughout the house. I'm gonna go. I'm probably not grabbing the shotgun, right? I'm probably I'm grabbing one of my ARs, either a 308 or a 300 blackout, and because I tell you what, after those 6-7 rounds, even though I kind of show a shotgun card in it that you can easily reload and put it in, that's not nearly as fast as me jamming another mag in or just having standard capacity. Can we even talk about standard capacity? I'll just say 29 rounds in the chamber, right? So, it's 6 rounds, 7 rounds, 8 rounds versus, I mean, even if you have extended one, 10 rounds versus your 30 or 29, it's.
Yeah. Yep. Abigail's in the house. IBG. Harry's Holster's in the house. Appreciate y'all jumping in. We got 25 people on the chat, so y'all smash that thumbs up button and go over and subscribe to Trigger Bar. I've got his link in the chat, and it's also in the description of this video, so go in there and check it out. Yeah, Mike is saying 29 and a half rounds in his mags.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, and let me rephrase that. Like, I'm not saying a shotgun is bad. I'm just saying I feel more comfortable with other options where I am at today.
Yeah.
And a shotgun curious is maybe with some good training, right, and some repetitions, I can get to the point. I am very confident shooting a shotgun. Like, I've spent enough time on that in my lifetime, maybe not as much in recent years, but in my lifetime, I've shot a lot of shotguns. I'm confident I can take things down with it.
Yeah.
But I'm not confident I can reload the thing fast. And I see all these tactical people doing it really awesome. I'm sure half your chat can do it that way, but that's not me.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm not super fast either. I've got the card, and I can jam them in there. And, the 590 is cut out, so you can pop them on in there, which I do appreciate because I've got some, with the lifter and, I'm not a huge fan of some of those. And you can, of course, Dremel them out and really make them huge if you want to. But, it's kind of like when I was talking or thinking about the SHTF, and this is like if you've got, certain, like, say you had 5 guns to do it all or whatever, I always think there should be a 22, pistol or rifle in there or both if you can. Definitely a shotgun, and I would prefer a 12 gauge over over a 10 gauge. I've got a 10 gauge and it's not fun to shoot. And then I'm not a big, and there's nothing wrong with it, but 20 gauge or 16 gauge, I'm like, I've owned a 20 gauge before, but it was when I was really young. And, I think everybody should own at least one shotgun if they're kind of, saying, oh, I need SHTF guns. And then, of course, an AR, and it can be, the good thing about an AR is you could have an AR that shoots 5.56, 223, and then you could just have a 300 blackout upper, to snap on it. That's the great thing about that setup. And I would prefer some sort of a big bore, or a big, whether it be a 308, 6.5, and 308 is just kind of a standard for me. Because you can find the ammo anywhere in an SHTF. I think more people are going to have 308 than 6.5 or 6 ARC or just something, down the road. But those would be kind of some choices for me to have, if something were to pop off like that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think and so I had a shotgun, right? I think we all have these fantasies for SHTF, and I do say they're mostly fantasies because if real SHTF happens, right? I, well, I don't know. I've read some books about some things. Like there's a guy, can't remember the name of the guy, but he was in Sarajevo when that was besieged in the 90s, and like most of his day was looking for wood.
Yeah.
So they could burn. Like they were in the city and they were just like hatcheting out door frames so they could get the wood. All the trees were gone in the city. Right at that point, they were going through it and trying to find empty apartments that they could use doors and door frames for the wood. Right, and so, it just kind of boggled my mind the mind shift, right, that goes through in some true SHTF scenario. But we're talking about our fantasy scenarios, right, and where you may have a variety of needs, right. You may have a bunch of people trying to come through the door, right, in a crowd, and in a crowd I may want the buckshot, right. I may want my wife on that and me on my AR, right, or and there's just various scenarios, up close, far, all these things, whether you want a long range with a big scope and you want something up front, and to truly encompass all your fantasy scenarios, right. You need a whole bunch of guns.
Yeah. And Brian is asking about what about Black Aces shotguns? I've shot one before. It was not mine. A friend of mine, his son bought it. He bought it for his 18th birthday. It was one of the tactical kind of guns, and his particular model was very, very finicky on high brass, low brass, like what I was talking about, and his was even a pump. It was made in Turkey. It's a very inexpensive shotgun, but again, it was brand new when we were shooting it, so it might have needed a break-in period. Some shotguns do. Have you shot a Black Aces by any chance, Trigger Bar?
No, I have not shot it. Nope.
Yeah.
So I can't comment on it from experience. I mean, I've certainly seen YouTube reviews on them, but that's as far as my experience goes.
Yeah, the thing I didn't like about the Black Aces, it was brand new. And the stock where it went into the receiver, it was loose. And I was like, okay, let's torque it. So I torqued it and it was still loose. I mean, it was really janky. So I was just not a big fan of it. And of course, with 12 gauge recoil, especially for him, he was a smaller person. I was like, I see that being a problem. So, I recommended to take it off, and they probably undersized it. So and I've seen it on some of the old shotguns, I have to go in and wrap. It's kind of jicky, but you can wrap duct tape or electrical tape on it, kind of jam it in there, get it really, kind of to snug it up. And that's what I was telling him to do. And he did it. And he said it was much better. But I seriously doubt he has that shotgun anymore, because now he's 21 and he's all into guns, and he's just gone crazy and bought a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Chessboard is asking if you're muffled. He's having a little mic, so just kind of bear with him. It's not a big deal. Hello, Abigail. I didn't know if I said hi to you. I really appreciate you being in.
Another thing to consider, right, is that I so this came up with what is it, Lucas Boykin? I don't know.
Yeah.
From T-Rex Arms, and his Arrow M5 burned down with 5,000 rounds where it stopped. And then recently, Garantham did a PSA, AR-15 burned down. And people point to that, and I get it, right? When you buy with something, you want to make sure it's going to last, and you buy good quality. But there is a big segment of the gun community that will never even shoot a tenth of those rounds in a lifetime through a gun. And people say, oh, well, that's crazy, and they shouldn't do that. Well, of course they shouldn't, right? But I know a lot of people who bought guns during COVID because they were scared that they were going to get banned, which was a good fear, by the way.
Yeah.
But they bought the gun, and it like they have all the tags on them still. They haven't not like dry fired it. They haven't taken it to the range. They haven't, all of those things. So uh, I I think I think we have to consider that a Black Aces shotgun or some of these other brands. If you go, like I have siblings that go shoot once a year at Thanksgiving, and then they shoot a box of ammo at Thanksgiving. They're never going to get to the 400 round count where those things die, right?
No.
Or it'll be 10 years of fun before they get there, right? And so I think there's a place for these cheaper guns that I think, look, you just be realistic with how much you shoot. If you shoot a lot, I probably wouldn't recommend you get one of those.
Yeah. No, and I've said the same thing. And also here's kind of going on what you said. Here's another thing people expect. They expect to buy a PSA with not a tricked out, high end barrel, and they expect it to be like one MOA or half MOA at 100 yards. Now granted, some people can't shoot that. I'm not as accurate, I would say, as I used to be with a little bit of trimmer I have, but do you need holes in holes? No. I mean, point of man, point of pig, point of whatever. I mean, if you're putting it in the correct spots, that's the main thing. And if your gun can do that, and matter of fact, like AKs, I mean, shit, some of those are what, 3 or 4 MOA at 100 yards, some 300 blackouts or 3 to 4 MOA, 2 to 3 at 100 yards, depending on your ammo. So, I don't think you need to expect this is a precision gun. I think some of that people get wrapped around the wheel about that too. But I would say as long as it works with the ammo that you have, definitely buy a new gun, take it out and shoot it, make sure it functions. Even these Black Aces, and a lot of those are made in Turkey. But, like you don't want to shoot 10 rounds and have your stock fly off. You want to be able to shoot some rounds through it and go, okay, I think it'll work for what I need it for. And then just plan according, like you're going to stick in a closet or a drawer or whatever. Like I've said before, people buy a brand new pistol, literally load defensive ammo in it and stick it in their sock drawer. And it's like, you haven't even put one round through it. How do you know it even likes that ammo? And they're like, it's a Glock. And I'm like, anything, I don't care what kind of gun it is.
And Harry made a good point. He's like, I've had 3 Taurus revolvers, and 2 of them didn't last 1,000 rounds. One's lasted 1,000, and it's a good point that some of these cheaper guns, you really do need to get them out right away and test them, because they may not work. And my experience has been you will generally tell earlier on that something's not going to work, but like to your point, they all have, like, I'm not ragging on you or Staccato, but I bring up to other people, well, Big J had a Staccato fail, right? And those are known to be some of the highest quality out there. And Bald said, none of my SIGs fail. And I have a video, it didn't get very many views, but I had one of those trick SIGs that you pulled the trigger, nothing happened, and then you shook it and it would fire.
Yeah.
And so even on the SIGs, right, that they'll have, every gun company is going to have a problem with the cheaper ones. You're going to have them more frequently, right? For sure. So you are taking a little bit of a gamble. But my experience has been with PSA. If you buy something from them,
you freeze up on me. I think you froze up on me.
Did you lose me?
Yeah, you froze up for a minute,
okay.
But you're back now. You were saying PSA.
Yeah, I mean, with PSA, that you send it back to them and they'll fix it, right? I've had very good experiences with their customer support with a number of different firearms, and they'll fix it, and so they'll get you right and get you going.
Yeah,
and I think Taurus had a problem with their customer support. I've heard rumors it's better. I can't speak to whether it's better or not from personal experience. I have one Taurus, and it's been perfect.
Yeah. Well, I've had Tauruses in the past, way back. What were they? The P, they were like the Beretta clones. I had two of them, and they both,
PT92 or something.
yeah, P92s. They both shit the bed. But that was back where you had to send them back to Brazil and all that shit. And now, I mean, the only Taurus I have is that TX22 competition, and it's been great. And I even joked around when I got it, and I said it feels like it's made out of sardines and license plates. It is a cheaper kind of a pot metal, but it works great and it runs well. Yeah, and Ball, don't even get me started on SIG. Brian's asking me if I'm staying at a Verbo. I guess no. This is a Residence Inn where you have the full kitchen, and yeah, it's a nice one. I'm in Abilene, Texas, but yeah, it's like I said, I think it's kind of like even if you don't shoot it all the time, like if you don't shoot it every single day or once a week or once a month, I think it's a good idea just to take your gun out periodically. If it is your sock drawer gun, just periodically and run a mag through it. And also take it apart, look and see if there's any abnormal wear. Um, See if anything is looking weird or something you need to address. Because I've also had brand new guns where I've had like mag drag, where not any of the 2011s or anything, but on the edge of the mag, this was a polymer gun, but on the edge of the mag, like the right side of the mag, it was like scraping the top of the mag, so it wasn't be smooth. It was like real rough and jagged, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And it was just like some machining. So I just polished the mag and polished up in the gun, and then it fixed it. But you can I don't care what kind of gun it is or what kind of car it is or what kind of house it is or whatever. Sometimes you need to shoot stuff and figure it out and just see what it is. If you're going to have problems with it, and it's always good to be proactive if you can. I know shit can just break on its own and you think everything's great, but it is good to be proactive and attempt to do some things like that.
Big J, I have a slight topic deviation on this that I'll reveal something going on with me since I put out so many of these dang videos. The other thing too is don't be so fast to condemn the ammo.
Yeah.
Right. I think we often do that. Oh, that's crap ammo because my gun runs and other stuff. When you may not have a large sample size. So for example, on this Dagger Micro C1 that I have like 10 videos out, that's all Big J's fault. If anyone wants to know why I have so many videos out on that, he said you better put them out, Trigger Bar. So I did. But it's been fun. I actually really love the gun, but it has a lot of light primer strikes. And it's now at Palmetto. And I actually did a video, and I've actually taken it down before it came out, where I claimed I fixed it, and I had replaced the firing pin assembly. But I replaced the firing pin assembly. I cleaned the striker channel out, or the firing pin channel out, because I had some debris in it, and then it ran. But it only ran for another 100 rounds, and I started getting some light primer strikes. At first, it was only on Winchester white box, and everyone in my chat said, hey, that Winchester white box is crap. And so I just kind of wrote it off. Then I started seeing it on some AAC, and then I had it on one or two Underwood. And I'm like, well, it's not super often. It's not every mag. It's not every, but in the end, I was like, you know what, there's something wrong with this. And I tried to do my own little gunsmithing. And in the end, I'm just saying, look, and what I did fix it. I put a 6-pound trigger spring in. It was no fun to shoot at that point.
Yeah.
Or striker pin, because the recoil back off that striker pin with that 6-pound thing actually was giving me blisters on my trigger finger. So every gun can have problems, but be careful in evaluating. Is it the gun? Is it the ammo? I think too often we love the guns. We don't want it to be our guns because we know what a hassle it is to get it fixed. But I'll tell you, like with PSA, I sound like a PSA shill. I have zero affiliations with them. I'm sure I know several other gun companies that are just as good, if not better. But every time I've gone to PSA, they've said, I've described my problem. I've written it up, well documented. I've told them all the things they've done. They've almost said, we're going to send you a label, next day air or second day air label. They ship it to me. I just ship the gun from my house back to them. and then usually within 2 weeks they ship it back to my house and it's fixed.
Yeah.
Right? And so I I think, I don't be afraid to call it, your expensive purchase. Don't be afraid to call the manufacturer and say, hey, look, I've tried. Like, it's
Yeah.
not the ammo, right? I tried different ammo. I tried different things, right? But I think too often we're like too caught up in the investment, the emotional investment we have in the firearm,
Yeah.
right? To say, no, wait, something's not right with this thing. That's
Yeah.
what you do, right? With the staccato, I'd be tempted to be like, oh no, it's something else. Right.
Well, I tried everything, that I knew, and they had a gunsmith, get his opinion on it. A friend of mine, and because I was just like, it's kind of, I wouldn't have thought of that. However, that's what it ended up being. So yeah. Craig is asking, what are y'all's thoughts about HoloSun being a communist company? Um, my opinion, I mean, I have, and I'm not a HoloSun shill or anything, but I have, honestly, I think I have 15 HoloSuns. And that doesn't even include, I've got a magnifier, I've got some other stuff, but knock on wood, I've beat the shit out of those things and I haven't had one failure. But when you get into the communist, I mean, like, where's your phones made? Where's your freaking computers made? Where's your damn TVs made? Where's your refrigerators made? I mean, if you're going to do that, you'd be living in a freaking cardboard box, and looking at air. I mean, there's so many things are made elsewhere. I'm not saying I'm not trying to buy pro-America. I own tons of Trigicons too, but I mean,
the one thing that I do like, I know they are a Chinese company, but they at least have a headquarters here in the U.S. and they have some engineering staff here in the U.S.
yeah,
Versus some of these other dots don't even have that. They just have hired some. Well, I don't even know if they've hired salesmen in the U.S. because
no,
by some of the emails that I get, it doesn't seem like they speak English natively. Not that
no.
wrong with that, but
Yeah. I mean, I've had a bunch of them reach out to me, and yeah, it's in broken English, and then you'll see their name, and then under it, it's
yeah,
kind of writing, but it is what it is, and I kind of look at it, if I can put it through what I want to put it through, and if it runs and it works, then it's another option. And also, when you start looking at this, a lot of people are like, I'll only have a Trigicon, and I'll do this, and I get that. I've done it too, but when you have 15, 20 guns, and you're upfitting every one of them with Trigicons and every one of them with Surefires and all this other stuff, and you've got all that on your rifles and your optics and all that other stuff. I mean, you can, I have my go to war setups and things like that. I'm sure other people do, but you also have range use ones and stuff that it's not as critical. But I just say plan accordingly, and also whatever your budget allows you. If that's what works for you and that's what you can afford and you've proven it out, then roll with it. Who am I to tell anybody, don't buy that, don't buy this? I'm not your daddy. Buy what you want, run what you want. And, but yeah, if you're going to start saying China this and China that, you might as well start throwing everything you have away.
yeah. I mean, look, I when I have what I feel like are reasonable choices, I like to buy American. Um, but do I have all American stuff? No, not even close. And
Yeah.
even when I have another choice, I sometimes buy the Chinese one. But I'm always doing a cost comparison, a performance comparison. For me, like in the dot arena, I'm with you, and so maybe they'll all say, "Oh, you guys are both commie shills," but I have a lot of Holosuns, and they work really well. I have a Trigicon, I have an EOTech. What I don't like the Delta Point Pro, like it's got really short battery life. The original Trigicon had the battery underneath it, so you had to lose zero every time you wanted to change the battery. There's just some features, and you and I have gone back and forth on this. I'm a circle dot guy because
Yeah.
I'm not as good of a shooter, and so I I like what Holosun offers, so that's why I go with it over what I could get with the Trigicon,
Yeah.
in particular, or the Delta Point Pro.
Well,
Vortex is an American company, but they outsource all their stuff too. I remember where they hit the thing, they're like, oh, they're made in Japan. You can't trust them. And but by the way, I've got that new dot coming out, Defender ST.
Yeah.
I've got a review on that. A buddy of mine bought one, and I'm going to have that reviewed here soon. It's interesting.
Yeah, and people might know this. I've had 2 Delta Point Pros shit the bed. So, sent them back. One, they sent me a brand new one, and I kept it in the box and sold it immediately. The other one came back. I kept it on a gun for a while. Then my buddy needed a dot, so I sold him that one. So I only have 1 Delta Point Pro left, and as of now, but I don't ever shoot it anymore. It just sits on the gun. So, and then I had a Trigicon SRO shit the bed. I have a video out on it where I just took it one day, set it in the safe sideways, and then I picked it up. I don't know, like 2 months later, I picked it up and looked at it, and the dot was in the far right. I'm like, what the shit? And so I started adjusting it, and it ran out of adjustment. And so I called Trigicon, and they're like, yep, you had reticle separation. And I'm like, shit. So anyway, I sent it in. This was during the time. And so they had it forever, and then they said they were going to fix it. Then they sent me back saying they couldn't fix it, and they were just going to send me a new one. So I got it back, put it on. I haven't had any problems with it. So that's a Trigicon. Those are Delta Point Pros. I mean, and knock on wood, I still haven't had a hollow sun shit the bed yet. Not saying it couldn't happen. Anything electrical or mechanical can shit the bed. So, but that happens, with anything. Hello, Armsman. How are you doing, sir? But let's see here. Let me catch back up.
Abigail had a question I think you'd want to hit because it's on the Surefire X300 or Streamlight.
Yes, here it is. The Surefire X300 Turbo is $200 more than the Streamlight TLRL, but is it a $200 better light? You have the X300 Turbo yourself?
I do, yeah.
You do, yeah. The thing that I can appreciate with the Surefire X300 Turbo, I believe, if I'm not correct, and I have videos on it, but I want to say it's 65,000 candela versus like, what is it, 40-something thousand candela. So yeah, it is a freaking lightsaber. I mean, it is a great light. If you want a tight beam that's going to go out 250 yards, that's the one. I mean, you could use the X300 Turbo, just the pistol model. You could easily put it on a rifle or a PDW. Where the Streamlight TLRL, you're going to get the flood type, and you're not going to have that projection beam. So, but I love TLRLs. I've got 6 of them, and a lot of those I bought. Not, Streamlight sent me because I work with them as well. But I mean, it really comes down to what you're going to use it for. What if you want to just burn somebody's corneas out, yeah, the X300 Turbo is the model for that. But they're both fantastic lights. I think just to have the HL, or excuse me, to have the Turbo, it is a pretty fantastic light. And I've got 1 Turbo and I've got 2 of the X300 Ultras. One is great for inside your home, which would be the Ultra, and the Turbo just burns a hole through your wall. I mean, it'll still light it up, but you just don't have that flood. So it just depends on what you want to use it for. But they're both great lights. You can't go wrong with either one of them, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah. So I have both and agree. For the uses for a pistol light, which of course our buddy Ken Hackathorn would say there's many uses for a pistol light.
Gizmo.
I think that's what he said. I have one. I bought one. It is really nice. If you're at all budget conscious and you're getting one light, I get the TLR. All right. If you're going to buy like 15 different lights over the next 2 years, buy one of the turbos, right? So, I think, and then see, which ones you like better. But if you're going to buy one and you're budget minded, I don't think it's $200 better personally. But if you're, like I'm kind of experimenting with a lot of different setups and systems, and so I like that. So
Yeah, and I will tell you another great light that I feel is very, very underrated, and I actually love this light. It's 1,000 lumens as well. Is the TLR9? Um, it kind of is you don't have the real big bulb on the front like you do the TLR1. It's more streamlined, and that's one of my favorite lights. I've got it on my MPA full size, and it's like it was made for that gun. Um, and I absolutely love it. I mean, it's just like a huge version of the TLR7A, and it's a fantastic light. So I really, for the form fitting, I actually prefer it over the TLR1. But the TLR1 HL is brighter, but the TLR9 gives you more of a beam pattern. So it's kind of like a turbo, but I think they have equal candela and lumens. So, but I do like it. So,
yeah. Yep.
We got Turkey's opinion in here. Let's see here what we got. He's saying buy Croatian XDM Elite, top it off with a Chinese optic, then install an American trigger. There you go.
That's too specific of a recipe.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Norwood. How are you, sir? But yeah, there's all kinds of again, I think whatever you can afford, whatever works for you, whatever you prove out to work for you and your family, use what just because I say, hey, I like this or I like that, and you say this and you say that, doesn't mean that that's the Bible and that's for everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, the Turkey's opinion had a good video. He was talking about a little trick with a 1911 to, if you're up close in contact, semi-autos or auto-loading pistols, if they come into contact with the person, they'll go out of battery and you can't fire them. And he isn't the one that invented, and he didn't claim, but so it's been out there for a long time. But that is one thing that our buddy Ken Hackathorn forgot about that a light gives you, especially the TLR one or the Surefire. The X300 is you typically goes a little bit longer than your barrel and gives you a little bit of standoff.
yeah. I've said that for a year. I've even said it on Chat's videos, and also, a lot of comps will do the same thing too. So, I'm a big proponent of that. That's why I've, in the past and still on a lot of my guns, I prefer a longer light because people are like, "Oh, it's going to stick out and get dirty." Who gives two shits? Clean the damn, wipe it off. It's the same thing. But I just think that, yeah, if you can get something to help as a standoff device, why not use it? So. Let's see here. Rich B has a question. He is saying, so when a new gun is introduced, do the manufacturers send the YouTube content creators a gun for free to review it, or is it loaned to them to review? How does that work? Is there payment to do a review? What's your opinion?
I don't know, because I'm not anywhere at that level. And so what I can say is from people that I know of is that typically, and I saw Bald and Curious answered some of it in the chat too, is that sometimes you're given a gun for review and then you have to send it back. And sometimes they give you the right to buy it cheap. Like you review it, then you can buy it as a used gun. So you can buy it for cheap. And sometimes they just give them the gun. I do think it's rare for folks, at least according to my knowledge, to collect payment for the review. And I think if they do that, then they have to mark the video as promotional, or they can risk losing their channel.
Even if you get the gun for free or a holster for free or anything where it, like even my lock grips and stuff, I still list it as a promotion. I just do that because
you don't lose your channel. Yeah,
correct. And well, I do it also because you got the Fair Act agreement. So I mean, not even outside of YouTube, anything that's given to you, you are supposed to. Now I'll come out and say, hey, they sent this in, blah blah blah. And I say that all the time. But, you know, the way, and I know guys that do this that I personally know, especially like the echelons, you know, a lot of the staccato, or excuse me, not staccato, Springfield prodigies and stuff that were all sent out. They were sent out for free, and they got to keep them. They weren't saying, "Hey, you got to give us a good review," but yeah, that's why they all get sent those guns, and then on the same day they release them, because that's the duty day where they can put all that information out or put their videos out. So a lot of those guns are sent out for free. There are some channels who get the gun for free, and some provide ammo, and some get a check too. So not, you know, your basic channels. These are some of the big boys, but you know, a lot of them will just do the video to get the, you know, for the free gun too. So
And then they sell it.
I'm sorry.
And then they often sell it.
Yeah. Oh, a lot. Well, because
that's how they make money on their channel is from the stuff they get and then they sell.
yeah, and if they, you know, like, and just because they sold it doesn't mean, I don't think that, in my opinion, that doesn't mean they didn't like it. It's just maybe they have other ones very similar, because when you, especially when you get into the Tupperware setups, you know, like I've talked about before, a lot of the polymer guns, you know, kind of at the end of the day, you know, one doesn't do something better than the other one, unless it's some kind of standout features or something like that that the other ones don't have. So, yeah, and I mean, again, you know, watch that, take that with a grain of salt. You know, it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, they're preaching the Holy Bible just because they said, hey, this is great, blah, blah, blah. So, but there you go. So, and then here's, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say on that topic, right? There's so many ways that bias comes in to the reviews, though, right? And so I would just be careful to just assume that, or to not assume that just because someone got a gun that they're biased, or that someone paid for it themselves that they're not biased.
Yeah.
Now, certainly someone giving you a big old fat check, we can pretty easily see why someone would be biased. And if they like every single gun they've ever reviewed, and we all know a couple of those guys, like, you know, you just know you can't trust them for an honest opinion, right?
Yeah.
And so you just have to go off of that. But like, look, I'll just say it for me, like even I bought all my guns, right? I don't, well, I've tested a couple, I've shown a couple of my friends on the channels, but other than that, I buy all my guns. And, you know, I have an emotional attachment, right? Because I've spent my own money. I may feel stupid for buying this gun or that gun, and I don't want to crap on it because I have some pride in it, right? So there's bias that comes in a lot of different ways. And so just because someone does or doesn't mean they're biased. I would look at the body of their work, right? And then go to big guys and small guys. And like, I don't know, I commented on Reloading from the Hot Pots video recently that he's been doing an echelon series. And I'm like, you know, thank heavens, because, you know, we haven't seen a video in a year on these things since they first came out. And now we're getting the truth on it, right? I mean, we got everybody's first week video. Now we're going to start to see some real stuff about it, you know? And so you got to take, you know, both sides of it. And I think that somewhere in the middle, you can find the truth.
Yeah. And, you know, tons of guns I've bought. I mean, I've bought pretty much all mine, or, you know, used or new or whatever. But anyway, I've tested, you know, guns that I've bought and invested, and then, you know, I've had the buyer's remorse. I've been through that, or after shooting it, you know, 6 months or whatever, I'm just like, this one is just, you know, I shouldn't have bought this, or this one's just not gelling with me. And that same gun could gel with 50 other people. That's why I think that, you know, not every gun's made for every person. So, you know, I don't think there's a problem with that. Somebody is, Taylor saying, you mentioned the scam arms scholar last week. He's on the Gun Collective panel speaking at GunCon. He's a disgraced community. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't beating. I'm just telling him. I was just talking about the clickbait shit he does. I can't stand that. But you know,
I blocked the channel because
huh?
I started getting high blood pressure just seeing his clickbait ads.
Yeah, I
Supreme
just can't.
Court 6-3 decides, and you click on it and it has nothing to do with anything like that.
Yeah, I just can't deal with that shit. So that's what I can't stand about it. Yeah, but let's see here. Let me catch back up. Free gun, free ammo, 2 thumbs way up. Yeah.
Hey, and Bald said we have to sing some kind of like birthday day for the SIG 320, right? Because it's March 20th, so 320. So we got to get Big J to say one good thing about a SIG P320 on March 20th.
I got to say one good thing about it.
Yeah, you got to say one good thing about a P320.
Um, they've sold a lot of them.
There you go, Balls.
Yeah.
We got it out of him. He said
You know,
something positive.
they've sold a lot of them, and they've got the military contracts. Blah blah blah.
Harry said it fits in a flux.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It fits in a flux, and I've said that before. If you have a sig, they put it in a flux. But yeah, and I've been talking about the chapstick on the glass for your lights forever, and it does work. A lot of people, I've had some people reach out and go, "Oh, you're full of," like they know that it works, but they still don't recommend doing that. But I do it. I've got it on, the gun I'm carrying today, and I mean, it works for me. But I always say, again, do what you want to do. IBG said it's a great paperweight, and that's another fantastic. I would definitely side with that. No, I'm just like I said, I'm not beating up anybody that likes their SIGs. I'm telling you, I'm on the shit list with SIG. So anything that
Hey,
I
you
ever have,
love your 322.
huh?
You love your 322.
Yeah, I actually do really like the gun. What's crazy about the 320? If you remember, I had that gun, carried it for a long time, and I had the trigger problem before it was a recall.
Mm.
And then I took that trigger out and put the Apex trigger in it, and after that, did not have a problem. Now, I didn't have it go off on me or any of that. Don't get the wrong opinion. It just something wasn't right about it. So after I put the Apex trigger in it, never had a problem with it. And then I did sell that gun because I was just like, I'm done with this shit. And then, had the X5 issue, had the 1911 issue. So yeah, I've given SIG quite a bit of money in the past, but I'm kind of done with that. And like I said, you know, if they came out with some new fantastic gun, would I be really eager to jump out there again? Not really. That's just my opinion. I'm not, do what y'all want to do. And then, changing the subject as far as EDC, do you know, since we're going, and I'll ask your opinion, since we're going down the hackathorn thing, or I kind of gave my opinion on that before when he said you don't need the doodads on your gun. Do you carry a weapon light on your guns, on your carry guns?
On some of them, yes.
Yeah,
Not all. Not all.
yeah. And now, do you also carry a pocket light as well?
Yes, always.
Okay. And that's where I was going to say, yes, I carry lights on my guns. I carry pocket light, handhelds, and I even have one in the car too. A bigger one, but it's one I wouldn't carry in my pocket. But just because you carry a weapon-mounted light, I agree. I'm not going to, I mean, anybody in their right mind wouldn't do that. But then again, if you had to, if I was out in the field by myself and that's what I had on me, and I'm not waving it at somebody or doing something like that. If I'm in a safe environment and I'm being safe and I'm not putting my booger hook on the bang switch, yeah, could you use it as a light? Yeah, you can. I mean, that's what it's for as well. Do I recommend that? If you're around people or in a non-safe environment? No. But, I also think with a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of common sense involved. If you have no common sense, for one, you shouldn't be carrying a gun. If you're that, if you're going to pull it out and do all this crazy shit I see people do, like on the internet and stuff, or at ranges, not saying my range, but I've been to other ranges where people do silly shit. So, again, people drive like idiots. Should they have a driver's license? Some shouldn't, probably, but I mean, we're trying to deal with, I guess, what we have to deal with. I just, pretty much all my guns now, yes, I do carry a weapon light and I carry a pocket light. So I'm covered either way. But yes, the pocket light's going to come out in a situation. It needs to. If I'm usually drawing my pistol, it's for a reason. And if it's dark, that pistol light's coming on. I'm just telling you, I'm not going to sit there and, hey, let's do the FBI thing. And, because I would rather have two hands on the gun if I can. Or, what if you had your wife and child and you had to start pulling them away? You're not going to be able to do this and get them out of there too. So that's, I think that's another good reason to have a pistol light. Not saying it's a must, but, it just gives you an option.
Yeah, I had an experience when I was cleaning an elk in the mountains, and we had heard a bear growl, and then also seen bear scat, and then also had seen mountain lion scat. This is out in Colorado, and we're cleaning an elk close to around midnight, and maybe 11:30, something like that, and heck yeah, I was pointing the weapon-mounted light on my SIG 1911 10 millimeter. I was pointing it into the darkness because I was a little bit afraid of what was coming. You hear sounds and you saw those animals, and they sure as heck can smell that blood as you're in there working on that animal. So I don't know. So for my woods guns, they all have weapon-mounted lights. Well, not all, but my revolvers don't. But I think that I think it's a good option, and certainly that if I'm going out for a walk at night, then I make sure I put a gun that has a weapon-mounted light on. If I know I'm going to be coming back to the house before nighttime, then I don't bother with it because
And I've even said this before. Not that I'm recoil sensitive, and not that front ends on guns just fly all over the place. I've got a decent grip and all that other stuff. But I do like the weapon mounted lights, even if it were the daytime and I had to pull it. I'm not going to light it up, but for my left hand, my thumb is on the top of the light, so it acts as a gas pedal, and that's a feature I enjoy because I've got long fingers and long thumbs. And then also, for people who do have a flip issue, that's a frame weight. If it's a TLR7, it's not super heavy, but the bigger lights are heavier. So it does act as a frame weight too, in case you had to burn something down. Not saying that's what you want to do, but you had to do double taps or triple tap or whatever. For your recoil control, that can help people who can't control recoil very well. There's other benefits like that too that people don't really think about. So,
and like you said, having the weapon light that extends just a little beyond your end of your slide can also make it, if you're up close and personal with someone, it doesn't take your slide out of battery.
Yeah. If you have to gut check somebody, that's a big plus to have that there. So, and like I've talked about, I look at that as you may never need it, but you have it. Okay. A comp, you may never, most people say, oh, that's not needed or whatever. But if it makes you a little bit better or more accurate or, quicker with follow-up shots, or even makes you feel pretty. If it makes you feel pretty, you're probably going to be like, hey, I really enjoy this gun. It's even more accurate for me. Or even a red dot, if it helps you see better or helps you acquire your target quicker, helps you become more target focused because you're not lining everything up and doing all that stuff. And can I point shoot at 7 yards? Easily. You can. A lot of people can. But is it preferred? No. And it keeps you, the red dot keeps your head upright. So you have peripheral vision, where you're not focused and turtle headed down on that and, looking at somebody's knees or whatever, you've got all your things. So there's benefits to all of this. And I know not just, Mr. Hackathorn, but a lot of other people, have a very closed mindset to anything that's different or anything they haven't tried. I kind of look at it this way. Yeah, can a lot of people drive, like nowadays, can people drive manual transmissions? Some people look at it and go, holy shit, that's a great theft device because I can't drive it. They didn't grow up with that kind of stuff, so they're not used to it. So, and I'm old enough to where I remember people would buy an AR-15 and they'd be like, oh, I'm keeping the iron sights on it. It's like, okay, but nowadays everybody buys a dot right when they buy an AR. So, there's all kinds of things. So, let's see here. What is he talking about? You can tell what YouTube thinks of Big J's chat. The ad on the front page is a pink bra. Is that a hint to many of us? We need to drop a few pounds in the chat. Who knows, man? Who knows?
I just shot back to him. I hate to tell you, but I think the ads are driven by the viewers' cookies on their system. So.
Oh, there you go. Well, I guess I could have probably, worse things pop up for an ad. Who knows? But at least it's not dudes in dresses putting on fingernail polish. That's probably coming, I'm sure, for all of us. Or one of those famous Bud Light ads,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, again, I always say, whatever anybody's comfortable with, their guns, their rifles, their shotguns, their EDC or bug out setup, just own it. Don't look at everybody else's stuff and go, oh, so-and-so has that, so I have to have that. Or he says to have that. Everybody's different. Everybody's on a budget. Man, I have people reach out to me all the time, and maybe you do too, but they reach out and they're like, oh my God, I'd have to sell 10 guns to get that, or I'd have to sell, my left kidney to get that. It's like, well, don't get it. I mean, nobody said you have to have that, and also the negativity, and you might run into this too. So I'd be eager to hear, or, excited to hear what you say about it. But, I get beat up quite a bit. I mean, not literally, but you know what I mean, in the comments saying, I can't believe you don't have budget firearms to show everybody, all the new budget dilly dads or little things that are out. You're not thinking of your supporters and stuff, and, you're not setting a good example. And I'm like, what? I'll actually reply back, I do what I want. If you want to watch it, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool. But you do you, boo. I'm not your daddy. But do you ever get anything like that?
Well, we're on different levels, Big J, because the comments that I get are, you should really try to become a better shooter before you start making videos and put them on YouTube. And I get comments like, you most of the time is, did you know that, what you were doing is completely wrong, or that pistol isn't right, or the way you were holding it is wrong, or most of my negative comments are that way. I have mentioned to you before, my top viewed video, which is not much. I mean, you've got videos that triple or 100 times this, but my top viewed video is a short, which isn't surprising, right? But it's got like almost 40,000 views now, and it's just showing what my EDC is for a lot of days. It's a little pocket 380. And I made the mistake of doing the video. It was one of my first shorts, and I didn't have socks on, and you can see my feet. And it was one of my first couple of videos, and and I wasn't sure I wanted to show my face yet on camera, and so I didn't. So I just showed, kind of in down, and showed my feet. And I would say half the comments are about showing my feet and how they should never be shown in public again, and how I was letting those dogs out, and Yeah, my family and I, we get a good crack. Every now and then we go to the comment section to get a good laugh at it. But
Man.
I don't get as many comments like that. What you were saying, because I'm probably just on a different level still.
No, I mean, I get those occasionally too. They're like, oh, you got a, $6,000 gun and you can't shoot for shit and blah, blah. I get that too. We've all seen it. We've all, and I'm just like, and then what I'll tell them, I'll actually say this because sometimes I don't even give them the time of day, but if I'm feeling froggy, I'll tap theirs and go there and I'll go, and they don't have a channel or they have a channel, but I mean, they have a icon, but they don't do any videos. And I'll be like, oh, I don't see you do any videos. You should do a video and show us all how, how great you are, or show us, you could teach. So why don't you do a video for me showing me what I'm doing wrong and you do right. And I won't ever hear back from them. So, everybody's a keyboard warrior till they get punched in the face. So, speaking of punching in the face, I got in a little confrontation today.
Hmm.
Yeah, in Midland, Texas. But we'll get into that in a minute. Go ahead and what were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, there's just always some kind of comment, and that's what I do too. I would say 9 times out of 10, though, I'm like, yeah, if that's a fair enough point, I'm a terrible shot. So, no problem. And and every now and then it just rubs me the wrong way, and I usually end up, looking at their channel and like they don't have a channel or they have 2 cat videos, literally. I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Or I'm telling you, I hate it when, and I've told friends this and stuff. I'm like, I hate it when you're negative on yourself. Always try to, be in a, even if, you're not the best shot or you're not the best race car driver or you're not the best whatever. Don't ever say, oh yeah, I agree with you. I need to do better and I need to do this, because for one, they probably can't do any better than you. And for another one, who gives a shit? I mean, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
I could give 2 shits what anybody says about me, because at the end of the day, they're not paying my bills. They're not my mom or dad. They're not my wife, kids, blah, blah, blah. So I just do me, and people can follow along or not. And of course, if it's a friend, I'll tell them what I think. They can tell me what they think because, we're friends. But if you don't know me, you don't know me. So that's the way I leave it. Yeah, M. Gabriel saying feet and tendies. Yeah, there you go. And then Armsman is bringing up a really good point, and I've said this too. There's a lot of good budget options these days. The market is flooded, and it is. And that could be with an AR, with a pistol, with even some gear. Hello, how are you? And that could be, opinions and things. I'm sorry, I got a little out of sorts because I was thinking about something else. But, I don't really buy budget guns to review them. I have some inexpensive guns that I enjoy, but they were kind of bought for a purpose. But just to go out and buy the latest and greatest, next new little whiz bang, that's not me, and that's not what my channel is about. I know a lot of people do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, you could have 10 or 15 budget guns, and then you're like, well, I can't afford a gun I really want. And it's like, sell those 10 or 15 budget guns and you could probably buy what you want. I have friends, really good friends, that buy a bunch of budget type stuff just so they have a lot of stuff. But then they've had some of those budget guns take a shit, and they're like, I should never ever bought this. And I'm like, well, and I'm not saying it's every time buy once, cry once. I'm not saying that. But also, I like to have more unique stuff, or stuff that I'm really interested in or that I really, really enjoy. And I'm not saying it has to be super high dollar. I have some cheap stuff that I really enjoy, or budget, I guess, type stuff. But I don't buy stuff for someone else or to say, hey, I got this before somebody else. That's not what I'm about. It's like
Yeah,
it's like you're chasing.
I do. Yeah, sorry, you're gonna say Turkey says I hate it when people tell me you need to test X, Y, and Z. I know his favorite one is people telling him how to do his gel tests.
Yeah.
And that gets him sent off the rails. And you know, and look, yeah, it's I don't know. I think there's also, I think he had a few crazy people on his channel too. But it, you know, I do buy. I have bought a few budget guns. You know, call it lack of impulse control, call it insomnia at 3:30 in the morning, and you're looking at your PSA blem offers, and you're like, dang, for that price, you know. You know, but you know, I generally speaking, not all my guns, definitely not all of them. I have some thought or some. It's like filling some gap. It's typically in that fantasy I was telling you about, right? And so again, I have this the 460 Roland coming out tomorrow, and in my mind, I live in Alaska and I have to have the best gun for bear protection. In reality, I've never been to Alaska and I have no trips planned to go to Alaska.
Yeah.
And so I don't need anything like that. But in my fantasies, I need something like that. And so that's where I get myself into trouble. In you know, but I agree, you know, and it's at some point, how many budget 9mm plastic guns do you need, right? Yeah. And at some point, it's just clutter in your house, and you probably have a hoarding issue, which you know definitely could accuse me of too. But
yeah.
So I agree. I agree. You know, and you know, like you know, I'll say the dagger. You know, it's just like for $250, you can have a Glock clone. Like, give me a break. Like that's incredible, right? And then that Dagger Micro C1. What caught me was you could get the integrated comp in the slide, and it's basically what SIG sells for $1,000.
Yeah.
But it's in the Glock 43X format, which is a popular format. Takes those parts. So like, there's some things that are like, I don't know, for me that they're just compelling. That I'm like, I want that, or I want to try. You know, that's what, there's something intriguing about it that kind of usually rationalizes in my mind at 3:30 a.m. and why I make that purchase. So
Yeah. Well, and I do have a little thing that I've always said, and I've told Harry this, I've told a bunch of my friends this. I have what I call walking around money, or you know, whim money. I guess you could call it that too. Where if I'm in a place and something's, you know, it's usually my budget's $400, but if it's $400 or under, or maybe 450 with tax or whatever, if I want it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get it. You know, I've convinced myself that that's what I get. I don't really have, and you know, I'm not new to the gun world. If I've done my research and maybe checked on it or something, I happen to go in and I'm like, if they have that, I'm going to buy it. And I've done that before too. Some I've really enjoyed, or it could not just be a gun, it could be gear or whatever. You know, so I kind of have that, you know, and I have a word for it, but I'm not going to say it on the internet. But, you know, don't give a hell money, I guess is the easy way to say it. So that's kind of what it's always been for me. And I've bought some of those things and some I've really liked. And then I bought some and I've been like, I shouldn't have bought that. But, you know, when you go down the budget path, and there's nothing that that's what you're going to get. But if you load up on a bunch of budget guns, it's kind of like a car. When you buy it for that $400 or $500 and you walk right out that store door or roll across that curb in it, that $400 purchase is now $250 or $200 if you want to get rid of it. It doesn't matter if you get rid of it the next day or 3 months down the road. They they don't hold their value at all, because if it's a name brand or something that, you know, is like people, you know, it's kind of more of a sought after thing, you know, you don't take a bath on it. But there's some literally, I'm talking half price the second you walk out the door. So those, I'm like, if you want that one and you're thinking about it, try to find it used if you can, so somebody else has already taken a hit on it. You know, that's the way I kind of look at it, because, you know, I want something that's going to be reputable, brand named, that I could pass down, you know, to someone else if I ever shit the bed, or whenever I do. where it's going to have some resale value and it's going to be somewhat unique. It's not going to be like I can walk in the store and there's 900 of them sitting on the shelf and I just bought one of them. That really doesn't have any flair to me or anything that I'm really jumping up and down about. Some people, like, that might be their thing, but if I can quickly replace it the next day with the same thing where I walk in a store and they're all laying in there, that really doesn't appeal to me, honestly.
Yeah, I get that.
So,
and I go back and forth. I have guns at all ends of the spectrum. So
yeah. And we have a viewer here. I guess she's bored and she's from Poland. So that's kind of cool. And she said in Poland it's hard to get a gun license. So she might be pretty young. I don't know. But yeah.
I think the gun laws in Poland were pretty liberal.
I thought they were. I know in Switzerland they are. I've been there before, and everybody and their brher has one there. I think it's.
But I thought that was only after you served in the military in Switzerland.
No, well, in Switzerland, when I was there, they were telling me that if you in your household, it's actually required you at least have one firearm and at least 50 rounds of ammo. They said that was required in each household. Now, I don't know, if that person was just talking, but they seemed to know what they were talking about. So I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And I did see people carrying. They weren't advertising it, but gun people know other gun people. So
she says Switzerland is easier. So
yeah, she's saying in the Swiss is easier because that's what I thought too.
I'm surprised Poland wouldn't make it a whole lot easier right now, given the geopolitics of what's going on their borders. Right. I mean, the first thing that Ukraine did after Russia attacked was gave everyone a gun.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so you'd think that a better idea would be give everyone a gun before they attack.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that way people would have a chance to know how to use them and, be somewhat proficient with them. That'd be like me saying, hey, here's the keys to my, Hellcat, and you're freaking 12 years old. Here, go out there and, drive away. You don't have any discipline, as far as muzzle control, things like that. So, I agree. And that just goes back to show, allow people to own them. Here they're trying to strip them away every day. And they penalize us as far as channels, for trying to press the 2A agenda. And, I don't know if I was telling you before we got on the chat that I think it's Chicago put a lawsuit against Glock for making a gun that was easy to turn into a machine gun, because of the switch, but they've already busted people illegally coming over here with bags of switches. So
yeah, that's like, but there's all sorts of stupid going on, right? And that also goes, like, you saw maybe you brought it up last week that FN is being sued or is suing Ruger for the SFAR cloning their FN SCAR. Have you seen that? Yeah.
No.
FN is suing Ruger for the SFAR because it's only one letter difference from the SCAR.
Wow.
And I'm not a good meme maker, but I gotta believe POF is like, what the F?
Yeah.
How is FN suing and we aren't suing?
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, it's like everyone has said the Ruger SFAR is a knockoff of what POF did, a few years back with their lightweight AR-10 or AR-308.
I mean, I enjoy my POF, but POF had that out for a long time before Ruger. You're right that it's probably just because of the nomenclature, and also, I mean, think about it, it's taking a market share away. So, and it has, but we also know that the SCAR is not known for being light.
Well, it's not light.
No.
It's like a quarter of the price. It's like, PSA, being sued by Glock. I mean, they're the same operating system. It's not the same operating system.
Yep. Harry's hit it right on the head. FN needed to make a headline, and that's the thing. You sue somebody and, hey, your name is in lights, so that's advertising, whether it be negative or positive. But he is throwing that at, because if you think about it in the gun market, and I love FN, don't get me wrong, I really like their products. But when you look at like the broad scan of popular polymer guns or, whatever. FN's kind of like at the last. I mean, they make great guns. I love their guns, but for the novice or people just going out to look for a gun, they don't just walk in and go, I want an FN, where people are so standard to Glock or M&P or Ruger or whatever. So that could,
there are a lot of people that the Scar is a dream rifle for, though, right? Be it from video games, iconic it is. Same with the 5.7, right? And both the P90 and the handgun.
Yep.
And then the FNX Tactical, both 9 and 45. Those are pretty iconic. So they have some good stuff, but you're right. It's rarely. You have to probably know a little bit about guns, or maybe heard about them through video games. That FN isn't the typical go-to that people just roll off the top. Although, right, they should, because they made the Browning. So.
Yeah, and if you like if you wear UGG boots, you got to have a rifle that matches your UGG boots. You got to get a Scar.
So. I saw that meme. You'll never see it this way again. That was hilarious.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I first saw it way back when, I was like, damn, that does look like it looks like an UGG boot. I was like, wow.
So for those who don't know what we're talking about, if you replace the stock on an FN Scar with an UGG boot, you can't tell the difference between the stock and the UGG boot.
Yeah.
They look the same.
Yeah.
So there's a meme out there of like, once you see this, you'll never not see it.
Yeah. I've seen that meme before. Yeah. Fur line for your cheek comfort too. But yeah, it's about 8:16, so we'll probably shut it down. I'm sure you got family stuff, and I need to do some stuff too here. But what do you have coming up on the channel? I know you got the premiere tomorrow night on that one, but what else do you have coming up?
Yeah, I've got some more 10 millimeter. I've got some more SFAR. I've got some actually really cool. If you're looking for a Wildcat cartridge, buddy of mine let me shoot a gun that he's built from. He designed the cartridge and got the barrel reamed out, and it's all totally custom gun. Can't buy the bullets or the ammo, and so that's going to be a fun little project to come out. He also let me borrow his Garmin Zero, so we're going to be looking at that. So I got a few fun ones coming.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I am playing with the MPA 5.7 some more, so I'll be taking it to the range, and I've got it somewhat done up. Y'all probably won't recognize it, but or you won't recognize what I put on it, or you might be like, why did you put that on there? But this is a purpose. This has a purpose. So you just have to bear with me on this, and I'll get to it if you're following the series. But I will have some more on that this weekend, hopefully, if not the first of next week, because I will be shooting it some more this weekend and proving it out. And so I'm kind of excited about it, but there's definitely a lot of different stuff on it. And I did weigh it. So I've officially put it on the scale after everything's complete. So I have a full weight on it. So that'll be coming too. And I have a kind of a bag set up for it. So you'll be able to see that as well. But yeah, it's all coming in the series. I'm just trying to do these by steps. So because I've had a 5.7 in the past, pistol way back, like 15 plus years ago. But this is kind of new, or I don't want to say brand new to me, but it is a new thing I'm doing. And so I'm learning a different platform, so to say. So it's been fun. And, like I said, I like to learn new things. And honestly, the reason I wanted to do this, because I honestly get bored of some of the other things. I'm not trying to be negative, but 9 millimeter and 12 gauge and 308 and 300 blackout. I mean, I love shooting it. I love shooting 22, but sometimes it gets a little boring, and it's fun to kind of, again, go out of my comfort zone, which I'm not afraid to do, and try something different. So this has been fun, and got a bunch more stuff coming on it. So. But yeah, definitely tune in to Trigger Bar. If you're not subscribed to him, I did put his link in the description of this chat, and also in the comments. It's up there somewhere. I probably have to scroll back up. But so if you're watching this after the fact, it's a video. For some reason I was trying to capture your channel, and it wouldn't let me. So I put a video in there. I don't know if YouTube's being crazy. They don't like me anyway. Hopefully this chat's not demonetized, and other people can see it. And thank you for joining us from the Poland. That's pretty cool. I hope y'all are safe out there. And I know she's been putting some comments in there, but I appreciate everyone else out there. And if you have any comments after the chat for myself or Trigger Bar, throw them in the comments. He's welcome to jump in there after the chat and reply to any comments you have from him or to him. And, like I always say, an unarmed nation's a weak nation, so we all got to carry on. So please, everyone, carry, be safe, protect you and your families, because Trigger Bar had another issue. I'm not going to give it away, but go over and check out his channel and you'll see what was attempted at his home, and that could happen at any home. So, stay strapped, because you never know when something weird's going to happen. But anything else, final thoughts you have?
No, just thank you so much for having me on. Apologize about the audio. I'll get this right eventually.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, mine's not perfect either, I'm sure. But we appreciate y'all being on this evening. Thanks, everyone. And I'll let y'all go. And Trigger Bar, you can stay on real quick. Take care, everyone. Y'all be safe out there.